Hi, I'm Carolina,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is our fourth podcast that we're recording today. And it's all about FlowLIFT, our workout, the history of it, why we created it, what it is. And then we've got two guests coming on. The first one is Cynthia Ziegler. She's one of our very consistent students. She comes to class all the time. And the second one is Farah, who is one of our teachers, and she also takes the class all the time.
So, first, we're just going to talk about the history of our workout FlowLIFT and why we started it. So, we opened our yoga studio back in, I always forget, 2015?
2014. It's called Büddhi Yoga.
Büddhi Yoga. It's in La Jolla, California. And we had both been teaching yoga for years. And I really only did mostly yoga for years. I mean, I would do some stuff outside, but I pretty much stopped all other forms of exercise. And I think we were both in the
Right.
same.
I did other stuff. Like I used to go to the gym when I was younger with my dad since I was like 15. And then, but yeah, once I started doing yoga, I only did yoga for a long time until I kind of got into like my mid 30s. And then I was like, oh, I got to like hire a trainer and go to like Orange Theory and try to figure out other ways to work out besides just yoga.
Yeah, I think at first for me, it was more like a physical thing. Like yoga wasn't keeping my body as tight as it used to. I
Yeah,
just needed to up the ante a little bit.
agreed. It gets harder to stay fit when you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah, it's true. So I would go to Pilates. I started running again, which makes me feel terrible in my knees and low back, probably because I'm doing it wrong. Um, and then Carolina said, we should create our own workout class. And I said, no, we don't have time. Just stop bothering me with that idea.
Yeah, I think the first time, well, I'd heard of other people going to like sculpt at Core Power. So that's, it's a yoga based workout. And I heard, I've never actually taken it, but I heard that they used just like heavier dumbbells, a lot of like burpee types movements, or, like those kind of workouts where it's like high intensity, heavy weights, things like that. And so I never actually wanted to take that class because I didn't want to be influenced by it. I didn't want to copy anything about it. I wanted it to be like our own thing. And there was several people who mentioned that we should have our own workout. We saw all our students going to other places for their workout, right? They were going to Pilates, Orange Theory, those like big gyms. And I just figured it'd be nice to have a workout at our studio so we wouldn't have to leave. Like we wouldn't have to go anywhere else and pay multiple memberships at places just to get everything that we wanted. So once I convinced you, we decided to add ankle weights. Like we didn't know any classes that had ankle weights near us. And we figured that would be a good differentiator, and it would target like some of the hard to reach places that women have a hard time with, like the hips and the low belly, things like that. So having the ankle weights, I think, was a good thing to do for us. But we obviously didn't know what we were doing. We'd never taught a fitness class before. I had only taught yoga. And so we really had to like change the way we looked at it, right? Like it was like, okay, what do we do? So we would just sit there and like put on these heavy ankle weights. I think we got like 10-pound ankle weights, which is insane. And we would just kind of like get on all fours and do like some pulsing butt moves that were really boring. And I don't know, it was an evolution, right? Like what do you think was the pivot point for us when we came up with the formula?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first pivot point was we had a student like show us some moves. Like there's so many moves on the internet and there's different classes that you can sort of look at. And that's what we did. We just took stuff from what other people were doing and sewed them all together. And so when we started doing like compound moves, like not just isolated movements focusing on one muscle group at a time, when we started doing these moves that sort of make your entire body work at once. It's sort of like that animal style type movements meets Jane Fonda almost. Like
Yeah.
it's a combo of those two. And then we started doing those, and then we created the format. I think when we created the format of the class, it's the moves are always different, but you're flowing through the same format every time. And I just remember the first time I really taught a real FlowLIFT class, I was sweating so much. I had never experienced a workout like that before. And it was weird. It started becoming bigger than us. Like it started just like being this machine that kind of like drove itself in a weird way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think once we realized 10 pounds around the ankles was too much weight, we had more like space and more possibilities for the types of movements that we're incorporating into the workout. So we realized the ideal weight was like 2.5 pounds around each ankle, right? So it's still enough to create resistance in the body that it makes you work harder. But, we were really able to like hone in on these full body moves that your brain has to really be focused on to be able to do. Like you can't drift off and do the move because it's complex. So you have to like move your whole body in this completely different way. And I think using the yoga as a background to create this workout was really what makes it so special, because the format is kind of like a skeleton sun salute, right? Like the way a sun salute flows was like our skeleton based sequence for that. And then we plugged in all the moves. So like you said, like the format's exactly the same every single time, but the moves get swapped out. So there's a combination of, lunging or standing type moves. There's squats. There's, these all floor moves where you're like down on the floor on hands and knees and doing all sorts of movements from there. There's down dog plank moves. So it really does get everything that you need in one class. And each class is only 45 minutes. So there's no rest. There's no time to like set up. Like I've taken many classes that were workout classes where you spend like a third of the class setting up.
Yeah.
You stop, you go grab equipment, you come back, you do a move, then you put that down, then you grab something else. So it's kind of very like broken up. So I think one of the things that makes FlowLIFT so great is that it flows seamlessly like a yoga class, right? There's no pausing, there's no breaking up of the energy. It's just one consistent, high energy, low impact class that works your whole body. Like there's never a class that I take where my whole body's not sore. Like I'll feel everything from my shoulders to my butt to my core,
Yeah, and it's a good sore. It's a healthy sore. And these movements require everything to work at once together in a really healthy way. So it's like that functional movement that I think everybody needs. And the weights add this element. I think that that's where the sweat comes from, and just the never stop moving. I remember at first we did some pausing, like we would pause in child's pose, and taking those pauses out made all the difference in the world.
Right.
You really
Like
don't need the rest. Yeah, rest for the rest of the day. Because yeah. And yeah, the fact that we had been sequencing for so long with Vinyasa Yoga and we love creative sequencing, I think we were really set up well to do this. And it brought out a different part of me. Like I was always, teaching yoga, you have to be calm. You play calmer music.
Your voice is mellow. You move slow. Like this was like the exact opposite of that, which I think is why I loved it so much, because I was kind of bored with yoga. Like I can, I never have to plan a yoga class. I walk in and I just, do it on the fly, and it always comes out great. And I don't have to think about it anymore. Whereas with this class, I really have to plan. It's constantly changing, so I never get bored. Like this is probably the only workout that I've stuck with this long. We created the workout in 2017. Yeah. 2016, 2017. And I still, to this day, get so excited to go teach or go take the class because I never get bored. It's constantly changing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I keep coming back, and I feel so good afterwards, you know?
Feel amazing after. You never know what's coming next, which for a lot of people I think is important. I mean, I know there's some people that likes to know what's coming next, but that really is what gives it the body mind aspect. Like you said, you can't drift off. You could never like do FlowLIFT and watch a television show. Like you have to be completely present, so you do get that just that break from your thoughts. I mean, it's almost like a meditation for crazy people, and I'm a crazy person, so it helps me just turn, my brain goes completely blank. I'm totally present in my body, and it's also very fun that we don't have to play. We can play whatever kind of music we want. Like we got to start playing hip hop and dance music and stuff like that. So it was nice to just wake up a new person inside of me that I didn't know was there.
Yes. And I think, sometimes people get a little scared of the moves because they can't do them right away. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, is like you're going into it not knowing what to expect, and you really have to just do it to figure it out. Like no one can help you do it. Like as a teacher, we do the whole class with, with the students, and there's no one walking around telling you how to move your body. You just have to figure it out. And I think that has huge benefits to it. Like you got to figure it out on your own. You got to keep coming and doing it. Like the class never gets harder. I mean, never gets easier,
Right.
but you do learn to move your body in a new way and to be more coordinated and more balanced. And just to like increase stamina too. Like I remember the first couple of classes we taught, I was like dying. Yeah. And I'm still dying because you try the hardest, right? When you're teaching, you can't take breaks. You can't stop. You just got to keep going. And the adrenaline is going. But you just, I don't know, it's kind of like an evolution, right? Like you just show up, you keep doing it, and then you can control your body better, and then it feels smoother, and it's very addicting.
Yeah. And I do think sometimes there'll be a move in the class that your body just doesn't do, maybe that day or maybe never, but there's another move coming that you're going to be able to do. So it is like, rather than getting frustrated when you can't do something, just know that first of all, if you keep coming, you will be able to do it. And it's not necessarily all about being able to do every single move. It's just showing up and trying to keep going throughout the whole class. And just
true. I mean, my mom's 67, 68, and she does a class at home. I mean, we do have online easier classes. They're level 1, or we call them light lift. And they're easier moves, not so complex. You go slower, you do less reps, but you still get a great workout. And that's what she does at home. And she's 68, and she wants to stay strong and healthy and keep her bones healthy. And it's made a huge difference in her life. And so I think it's kind of an excuse when people say it's too hard, I can't do it, right? Like, yes, you can. If someone who's 68 can do it, you can do it, right? Like, I don't know.
And we try to keep it fun and light. I don't think the energy in there is like too serious. We just want, especially in the studio, we want like people to come together and exercise together. I mean, that's kind of how I like to socialize now, especially as I get older. I don't really go out that much. So to see everybody at Büddhi is so great. And when I don't have time, or if you're not in La Jolla, we have so many classes online. We even have people that like get their friends together and they all do it, like at somebody.
Yeah, my mom does that. She has a little crew. My mom.
Oh, cute. I love that. I didn't know that.
Crew of like the old lady friends who come over and they just do the class together. It's super cute.
Yeah, and I mean, this type of movement, especially if you're a little bit older, the level 1 light classes are definitely more appropriate. But I think what really makes a body old is a few different things. One of them being like not being able to sit down onto the floor or to lift yourself up from a seated position in the floor. And all of the movements in FlowLIFT, especially the floor moves, are going to basically solidify that you'll always be able to like set yourself down and pick yourself back up. And just losing movement and mobility in your hips and in your low back, just that area almost just like going dormant or stagnant because you're not moving it enough. And I mean, yoga's the same, but especially FlowLIFT, it keeps that area so spacious, so mobile, so strong. It is like a fountain of youth in a lot of ways.
Yep. And we've created this class in a way that we can have teachers all over the world teaching this class. So the way we have created our teacher program is, we have a training that they can come to in person here in La Jolla. Or we have a girl in Mexico, in Monterrey, Mexico, who's leading trainees there. So you can either do it in person or you can do it all online. We've recorded the entire training with, videos of us giving lectures, and then you doing exercises at home on your own to get certified. And you have 3 months to do it on your own. Most people obviously do it a lot quicker than 3 months. But ideally, we would love to see this class everywhere. Like the model is a teacher model. So the teacher pays a monthly membership to get our choreography and our music. And then the studio owners don't pay anything at all. They just have to buy the equipment, the ankle weights, the hand weights. We have a knee pad that we use since we do a lot of floor moves on hands and knees. So it's something that we hope to see will grow globally. And that way everybody can, experience this amazing workout. Because without this, honestly, I don't know what I would do. I started running too, and that didn't last very long because my knees were just killing me.
Yeah.
It feels awful. It's like bone on bone, and there's so much pounding. So for me, it wasn't sustainable to keep running. And the gym workouts were really, really boring for me. I would dread going to work out at the gym. Even if it was one-on-one, I can't. It's just so boring. You end up doing the same machines again and again and the same reps. And it's after a while, you just check out, you're not even there anymore.
Yeah, it's not present. You start just going down the row of thoughts. I mean, I just felt the same way. And I mean, it was very fun how quickly it grew. I mean, we threw it on the schedule and people would come and they loved it and they just kept coming back. So we had to train teachers. We had to add classes. The demand for it grew so fast. And I mean, we already had our yoga online. And as soon as we put the class online, people started signing up. And it's just really, it feels good that we created something that has helped a lot of people.
Yeah. And we've been consistently posting a new class every single Monday, sometimes two. Yeah. So it's people won't run out of content. And it's a class that, no two classes are the same, right? Same format, but completely different moves. And now that we're almost ready for launching our new website, where we're combining the studio website with the FlowLIFT website and the yoga website all into one, they'll be able to have even more options. And I think it'll be easier for them to kind of see what we have to offer, everything that we have to offer all in one place. So depending on whether you want to work out that day or you want something more mellow, a very chill yoga class, it'll just all be there. And they do go hand in hand, right? I get tight and sore from FlowLIFT. Yeah. And I need the yoga to stretch it out, right? And there's so many people out there that only value the workout. They only value sweating and building muscle, but they forget how important it is to create mobility and to have freedom in your body, right? You need both. So,
and the deep breathing. I mean, the breathing in yoga is so valuable. That's really what I need, and the stretch, because I do get a little tight from FlowLIFT. Yeah. So we have two guests that will be joining us. The first, her name is Cynthia, and she's been doing FlowLIFT. I guess we'll find out how long when we ask her, but she's definitely been coming very, very consistently for a couple of years. And that's one of the reasons we asked her. And another reason is she's not your typical 25-year-old girl coming to work out. She's a little bit older than us. She's got kids in their 20s. And not only does she look amazing, but she can like do all the moves because she's so consistent and because she, I think, just really, really values exercise and the physical and mental benefits of it. So we wanted to talk to her about why she loves to exercise and why she loves FlowLIFT. And we are also inviting Farah, who is one of our FlowLIFT teachers. So we can just hear why she started doing FlowLIFT and how that journey took her all the way to being a teacher. And she teaches several times a week at Büddhi Yoga. And you'll be able to take her class online when we launch BootyMoves.com.
All right, so stay tuned. All right, here we are with Farah.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hi.
And then here we are with Cynthia also.
Morning.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Carolina and I were just talking about how we started FlowLIFT and why we started FlowLIFT. And we were just talking about you, Cynthia, just how consistent you've been. And how long have you been doing it? Do you know?
When did FlowLIFT start? I was just thinking about that this morning.
We put the first class, I think, was on the schedule September of 2017.
Okay, I'm close. I think I might have started in 2018.
Yeah, because I just feel like you've been there the whole time.
I've been coming for a long time, yes.
And very consistently. So that was really one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you. And before we even get into FlowLIFT, like what's your background with exercise? And like why do you exercise and how long have you been exercising?
Well, growing up, I really was an equestrian. And that's all I did. I rode 7 days a week. And then when I started to ride less, I played around with a lot of different things. Pilates, yoga, cross training, core strengthening classes. And I still do some of those, but I decided I would give FlowLIFT a try one day, which is the hardest thing to do, I think, is to launch into something new. Mm-hmm. I was relatively new to San Diego and just walked in one day and remember after about 5 minutes thinking, okay, I'm one and done. This is it for me. I remember thinking, I'm flopping around on the floor in here and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm embarrassed. And that changed quickly. I made myself go back again. And now I'm a 3-day-a-weeker and I have withdrawals when I can't go.
Yes. So how do you feel when you can't go? Like if you're on vacation or when you're just busy and you can't make it, like, do you feel a difference physically and mentally?
Most definitely. I actually get a little depressed and I think, and I'm not a crazy person about exercising, but I do love to do it. And something about this class, when you get to be my age, I love to keep stimulated physically as well as mentally. And the class in 45 minutes does it all. I feel like my brain has worked. I feel like I know my body has worked. And 45 minutes is ideal because an hour, I'm not sure you could wipe me off the floor. Right. But 45 minutes is perfect. And it's difficult mentally because I feel like there are little dance steps almost in every class. And I have zero natural rhythm. And I have gotten better and better over time. And now I go in and I feel great. There are days when I do maybe half the reps that you do, but it doesn't matter. I'm still in there and I still feel amazing after 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's music to our ears. Yes. It's like so awesome that you love it that much. And I'm so glad that even though that first one was a little frustrating, like for whatever reason, you kept coming back. And yeah, now you're addicted to lift, just like Carolina and
I am addicted. I really am addicted. And I watch newcomers come in the door and I feel sorry for them because I know the first time or two it's so different from anything else.
Yeah.
And but the nice thing is nobody's ever pointed out as doing something incorrectly. Doesn't matter if you can't keep up. It doesn't matter if you're not doing everything exactly right. As you always say, just modify. And there are days we all modify. Maybe something is a little sore. Maybe something is a little off. Maybe you're just not in the mood, but modify. And it's still an amazing workout. And then there are days where I can almost keep up. And then, and the music that you guys play also absolutely so invigorating. I find myself singing while I'm dripping sweat. I'm singing in my head, and that's just such an amazing feeling.
Yeah, to be like filled with joy when you're exercising is very hard to find. What about you, Farah? What is your like history and background with exercise, just kind of overall in your life, and why did FlowLIFT grab you?
Yeah. Well, I think being in the question is pretty awesome, Cynthia. So
Definitely.
I like to say that. That's pretty awesome. Well, my background for athletics kind of started swimming. I swam pretty much my entire adolescent life through high school. So swimming was where I was at. In college, I just started getting into more weight training. So more circuit type, physical activities. And then I started running a little bit as well. So I would do anywhere between, little mini like marathons, 5K races up to like half marathons. And that's kind of what I did because that's kind of what I knew. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Bikram yoga. And this is like 17 years ago. And I was hooked. I was hooked into Bikram. I loved it. I love the heat. I love the total body sweat. I loved everything about it except for doing the same poses every single class. Because after a while, it truly got old. But I would say probably transition-wise with my body, I probably saw the most I had ever seen with every other physical activity I had done. So up until that point, I felt like that was it. I think when you feel that transformation, you feel the sweat, you feel like you're detoxifying your body. At that point, that was what was for me. But then I got pregnant, and I knew I couldn't continue Bikram. There was no way. I mean, yeah, sure, some people did it, but I decided it wasn't going to be for me in a 104-degree room being pregnant. So, slowly got back into it after I had my son, but then I slowly kind of got away from it. And then also all that stuff came out about Bikram, and I started getting to more yoga type stuff, not just Bikram, but just really all different types of yoga. So vinyasas, I dabbled a little bit with a little Ashtanga, but nothing crazy. And then we moved out to San Diego, and I was on a search for the yoga studio. I'm like, we're in California. This is perfect. I need to find the perfect studio. So, I started to go ask people, and we'd start to go to different yoga studios. And I kind of did this yoga studio hunt. And then I met who's now become a dear friend of mine who used to record a lot of her workouts in her garage, and I would see them on social media, and I'm like, what's that workout you're doing? And she goes, I've been doing this crazy workout, and then I found a studio that also does this type of crazy workout as well. So, she kind of was aligned. Like she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there are other people who do this crazy type of workout. And I'm like, what is it? She's, you should come. So she invited me to come to Büddhi. I came to Büddhi, and I was very humbled. I always felt like, I mean, you go through transitions in your life, and you feel good about certain things. You're like, yeah, I've got this athletically. I'm good. And I came in and, was seriously humbled, not just by the class, but even just watching the ability of everyone move and at the rate they were moving with the different moves for FlowLIFT. And like Cynthia, I was I was a one and done. Like I knew this is what I wanted. I wanted something that was different every time. Just, you felt different. You felt amazed. You kind of come out of the class like, what was that? I was, I was just like, I wasn't sure what happened. Something happened. Something hit me, but it was, it was good. And I felt great about it. And I started going. I started going to a couple of classes. It's funny. I was looking at some videos the other day and I saw myself in a couple of the old videos that are in the library, and I almost don't recognize myself a little bit too. I'm looking at myself just like in the corner of some of the videos and I'm thinking, wow, I was trying, but it's definitely, I felt like it was like a humbling workout. And for me, I love a challenge. So when I came across that and I knew it was something I wanted to do, I love the challenge of doing it and saying, I can do this. I know I can do this and I'm going to like master this. And I love that every class is different, that you're going to get different moves, yet you still get that muscle memory because you're digging into those little small muscles in the different coordination. So I just really liked a lot of the dynamics of the moves. And then the music was just a plus as well. So the just loud blaring music, exactly, coming from Bikram where it's dead silence too.
Right.
Having music playing and exactly singing along with songs. I felt like I was doing that yesterday in FlowLIFT. There was a few songs that came on and I just got into my groove, and I love that about FlowLIFT. So, and then I was going to say, and then during the pandemic happened and I was stuck in my garage and was working out, and I was doing probably like everybody else, doing a lot of FlowLIFT videos. And it was actually a neighbor and I roped her in with me. And I'm like, you've got to do this with me. So it'll be more fun. So we did them together. And I thought about doing the teacher training, but only because I just wanted to enhance know a little bit more about the background of FlowLIFT and then just enhance, my workouts. And so I pretty much went ahead and signed up for teacher training, but then the pandemic hit. And so we had to do it over Zoom, which was interesting. So we did it over Zoom. It was so fun and great. And I remember getting my certification and thinking, I just did this just for me. Like I had no inkling of coming to the studio and doing a class, not subbing, this was completely for me. And here I am.
And you're very good. I love your
classes. 3 times a week.
Teaching 3 times a week, and correct. So that's how.
And then what about like when you don't do it? Like, what do you notice about your body and your mind when you take a break?
Yeah, similar to Cynthia, it's true. If I take a break from FlowLIFT, I really do. I do feel it's almost like that yearning. You want to get in there. You want to get your workout in, and not just any workout, because there's a lot of times like I still will run. So that's kind of my mix up, but I love that we're doing different moves all the time. And so I really do crave that when I don't do FlowLIFT. I do, like if we go on vacation or if it's a long weekend or something, and if I end up going like 3-4 days without it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get a FlowLIFT class in. Yeah.
It's a very different kind of adrenaline boost.
It is.
It really is. I can take 45 minutes and do almost anything else, and I don't get that I feel after. And I mean, I leave the studio and I have such a lift to my step because I did it. I loved it. And there's such a wonderful camaraderie in that room too, because a lot of the women come often, and it's just a wonderful accomplishment that and we're all proud of ourselves and we're all happy afterwards. and it's really a very unusual and special class.
Aw.
And I was just about to say that, Cynthia. I think it's a sense of accomplishment when you finish the class. You're just like, wow, I just did that, and you think about what you did. And I think from the teacher perspective, knowing where you are in the class and this is like, okay, this is like my final 5-6 minutes, I've got this, like, to just kind of turn it on. I think that extra adrenaline is exciting too. I just actually really look forward to that. Like, I love the whole class, but I do look forward to like that last 5-6 minutes where it's just turn it on, just get it, just really turn it on, and like, let's go, everybody, let's give it all we got.
So true. That was vinyasa number 5. Let's go.
That's right. Right. I remember you count vinyasas, and you didn't even take the training, but you completely figured that out. And just so you can kind of tell like where you are in the class. And you guys both are making me think about, like, we did not get together and say, let's make a really, really hard class. Like, that was not at all our intention. We wanted it to be a great workout, but that was never discussed, but it certainly did happen. Like, it is very, very hard. And while I think a downside of that is that some people might get discouraged when they come, but I think the biggest upside is, like you said, the camaraderie. Like, it's like you've all been through a traumatic event together. I mean, but it's not traumatic. It's so fun and it's so amazing, but you have to dig really deep and you have to work really hard, and we all did it together. And like you said, Cynthia, it does not matter if you do every rep. It doesn't matter if you're Corey flying through every move, or those new girls from Boston who were in class yesterday trying their best, but looking at me like I was a crazy person. But, after, everyone's just so happy, and like the endorphin rush from doing that class is really amazing.
And then I think like what you said, Cynthia, you get a little bit depressed when you don't do the class. I mean, that's certainly true for me. Like, when I go out of town and I'm not, being physically active like I normally am when I'm home, I get down and I get very reactive, like just like on edge. Like, I'm always like just snappy and in a bad mood. And I just feel like that's just one of the biggest benefits for me, is just being able to go in there and just letting go of all that pent up aggression and stress and tension. And it just kind of all floats away like after class. I think because there's no breaks in the class, you're constantly moving, you get so lost in it, like even like yesterday when I was next to you, Farah, in class, like I'm like in another like dimension. I feel like, like I'm just so into like doing the moves that I don't really notice what anybody else is doing or like what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just so lost in the moves themselves and in the music. And it really takes me out of whatever's going on in my life. If I'm having, problems or whatever, like all that stuff just fades away,
It has to,
Yeah.
or I can't follow, which is really a wonderful thing. If I think about anything else, I'm going to lose my balance or I'm going to lose my way. So focus is part of the workout. And also it just relieves you of all your stresses for that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So true.
That's 100% accurate. I feel the exact same way. You go on vacation, you come back, and if you're not filling your cup with those workouts that you love to do, you get sad, you get cranky, and you just, and I do love that feeling though of getting it out on the mat and just putting your energies, like, you can tell. I think sometimes, I think you as a person can tell your moods based on how you perform as a teacher or even as a student in those classes sometimes, just, it really is, because there are days where, you really can just turn it on even harder because you really just want to get it out there. And there are days where you just kind of want to slow it down and kind of just, get through your reps. And that's what I do love about FlowLIFT. I just love, there are just so many, it really hones in on your feelings, and as well as just kind of, go with how you feel. Go with how you feel in the class. You don't have, I always tell people in my class, yeah, you don't have to you don't have to do the same amount of reps that I'm doing. As a teacher, I have to do it in 45 minutes, but you do 10, 12 good, great reps, 8, whatever works great for you, feel good about, so that you come out of the class feeling good, not just like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I don't even know, did I work out?
Exactly.
I will certainly never work as hard as when I'm teaching, though. Like, never. Even whether I'm taking a math class, doesn't matter whose class it is, I'll always be like, oh, let me take a little water break. Let me shoot a video. Let me skip this part and do child's pose for 5 breaths. Like, I will never work as hard as I do when I teach. Like, there's just this underlying adrenaline rush when you're teaching, and obviously everybody's watching you, so you can't stop. If you stop, everybody else stops, right? So it's like, there's no choice. You just have to keep going, and you got to work at like 110%,
Yeah.
And you have to talk through it, which is exhausting.
Yes. We don't talk that much. We talk very little.
No, you have to, you briefly explain, but even that is just makes it that much harder.
It's 100% accurate, because since I've been wearing an Apple Watch, not to plug, but I notice a huge difference when I teach a class, what my move points are versus when I take a class. And my goal this year was to try and take more classes, because I felt like in 2022, I was just kind of like teaching a lot of classes and never got into the studio as much to take classes. So I like to take classes, because it's humbling as a teacher, because then you're putting yourself as a student, you have to stop, you have to listen to the moves and make sure that you're doing so you kind of putting yourself in the student perspective. So I do love that, and I know you ladies are always there at each other's classes, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love that you really can kind of feed off of that.
That is a good idea. I don't have an Apple Watch. I don't have any of those monitors, but I would like to try to take a class and get the same workout as I do when I teach, because I think that you can. I mean, you just have to completely go for it. But that pressure and also we're filming. So I'm like, this is going on our website. Like, I have to make this really good. And of course, for everyone in the room, there does add this element that is an extra boost. Like,
I think if you go in the front, do you remember when Natasha was like doing this test about whether, like, when you go in the front row versus the back row, and how much harder you work when you're in the front row? Do you remember that? She was like doing some sort of research about it. But like, I do believe that if you go to the right of the teacher, because you're on camera also, you will work just as hard as the teacher.
I was going to say, though, I think the one little difference, and I don't think it's a lot of move points, but I think the one little difference as a teacher is that you are speaking. And even though you're not speaking as much, but because you're exerting, that does pull a little bit more of cardiovascular. And so that does, kind of burn a little bit more. It's not a major thing, but I think that does add to it a little bit. But yeah, I think it just depends, right? Do you want to be on the other side of the camera or on this side, because if you're on the camera, you're going to just work it the whole class.
Exactly. That's why I'm always in the back row.
But Cynthia, you're so steady. I can feel the people closest to me. I can feel them. And you're really steady and you're really consistent. And I think that makes the workout really, really good.
Yeah. Well, you always say, just keep moving.
Yeah.
And that's really great advice, because it doesn't matter how slow you are. Just keep moving, do the moves as best you can, and you'll still get an amazing workout.
That's true. And it really bothers me when people just sit there and look. When people stop and sit and look around like a sack of potatoes, it makes me angry. Like, it really bothers me. And sometimes I yell at them, but it's like, just keep moving, just try.
moving.
I
Yeah.
always, especially if it's in a short one, I'm like, you stop, you might move, you might miss it. Like, we're gonna be done those 15 reps by the time you like
That's very
heads
true.
up.
Very true. My husband has come a couple of times and he'll pause and look at me with the sweat dripping off his face, like, are you kidding? And I look at him and I go, just keep moving.
That's right.
And I have gained a lot of respect from that man when he comes to
Nice.
his classes because he's very fit and plays every game and does every kind of exercise ever written. And he goes to that class and I get his respect.
That's great.
And he
That's
would go
amazing.
more if he could, if he had the time and he wasn't traveling and working, he would go more
Right.
because he realizes what an amazing workout it is and how, as you always say, Carolina, my body is at my age, even my body has changed.
Yeah.
And it's stronger and I'm not naturally flexible, but I'm way more flexible than I used to be. And a class that is that much of a physical challenge, you'd think that maybe there would be injuries. All my problems go away.
Yeah.
My lower back pain goes away. Sometimes I have a knee thing or a shoulder thing. This workout, even though it's this intense, helps it.
Yeah.
So it kind of just checks all the boxes for me.
Yes. And so what would you guys say to like a new beginner who has never tried FlowLIFT and maybe they're scared, they're not sure about whether they want to take it or not? What would your advice be to them?
I would say I 100% understand all of that because I was that person and I was nervous and the first time I thought this is a fail for me. This is not my thing. This is not my cup of tea because again, I'm not very flexible. I'm not very rhythmic. And thank goodness I kept coming back. I would say, come back, just keep coming. It does get easier, not necessarily physically easier, but mentally easier because you pick it up better.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes such a triumph. So I would say, don't give up.
Love that.
Yes. What about you, Far? What would you say?
I think going back to the humbling experience of FlowLIFT, I think, and saying, and feeding off of what Cynthia said with her husband, I think it doesn't matter what level of fitness you are coming into that class. I've seen people who run in marathons, do circuit training. You come into that class, it's a different type of workout, guaranteed that you've probably tried before. In the sequence that it's doing, it's going to give you a challenge. I think with that said, someone new coming in, letting them know what I completely understand. We've all been there. Take your time. You don't have to go at the same pace that we're going at. Just have fun, right? Like, I think that's the biggest part of the workout is such a fun workout. So, no matter what you're doing, have fun. Don't overthink it and just do your best.
Yes.
Good advice.
Very good advice.
And I love there's always humor. We even you, Amanda, and you, Carolina, you'll laugh at yourself because oops, I just did the same side twice, or oops. So it's very relaxed and casual and non-judgmental, and we giggle sometimes, and we are sympathetic to each other. The women on the mats exchange looks like, really? But it's a happy thing. You guys do a great job of keeping it lighthearted.
Oh,
Thank
thanks.
you. I mean, I think women we're kind of hard on ourselves. Like, so we do that enough to ourselves. And the reason for exercising sometimes is because we're hard on ourselves, like the way we look or whatever. So to be able to come to a class and feel like a break from all of that for 45 minutes, I mean, that's my favorite part, I think. I mean, I love the way my body's changed. I really do. I love being strong. I love being mobile. Like, I think these things are obviously so important, especially as I get older. But like also as I get older, I'm getting more anxious. I can't sleep as well. And this class really, really helps. Like you said, it really checks all the boxes as far as what you need from an exercise class and what I need like mentally and physically to feel good.
And I'm sore every time. Like after every class, I'm sore everywhere. And to me, that feels so good because it's like, okay, it's working. I did something. Like I think there's nothing worse about a workout and you're like not sore the next day.
Yes, I completely agree with that. It's just, I love being sore from every workout. I was sore from Amanda's class yesterday. I was sore from my own work going into that class yesterday from my own workout, my own FlowLIFT class, which always cracks me up. I'm like, man, I'm so sore for that class, which is good. But I think because FlowLIFT, what I love, honestly, and one of the major things I love about FlowLIFT is that it taps into all of our little muscles, which is nice. Whereas a lot of workouts and a lot of things in your daily life, you're constantly working your big muscle groups. So it's tapping into those little muscles, which really is working, and they don't get worked as much. So when they're getting worked like that and you get sore, I love that. Because it's really doing. And someone asked me the other day, this lady in class, she goes, I think she was the first time at FlowLIFT, and she goes, how can I get my back to look like that? I'm like, it works. I'm like, it's only 3-pound dumbbells that we use, but it's just the way the moves are, the way we do these rows, and it's just the whole sequence is working, and it really, really works, and it works all those muscle groups, but
checking all the boxes.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions, Amanda?
No, I mean, I just want to thank you both so much. Like, it's just, we are so excited that we created this, but it would be nothing without you guys, especially, becoming a teacher, and you, Cynthia, just always there, like, I hope I say hi to you every time. It's like, because when you see the same faces over and over again, it's like, oh, hey, what's up? But, just to thank you guys so much for supporting us and just for truly loving the class so much, because that's really what makes this so amazing.
Yes, it's much more fun when there's people in the class, not like when we were shooting it during COVID and it's just like you by yourself, like telling a joke and it's like crickets. Like it was so depressing.
Someone at home is laughing.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, thank you so much, ladies.
Well, I thank
you so much.
I thank you all. It's such a wonderful class, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Cara. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that was so nice to have those two ladies on the podcast with us, don't you think?
Oh my God, loved it.
They're so sweet. Okay, so obviously you can take this class at Büddhi Yoga in La Jolla, California. There's a couple other locations here in San Diego that you can take it at, UCSD. There's a place in Pacific Beach. There's also a studio called Raw Society in Monterrey, Mexico, and that's where our master trainer Lorena is, and she's having a teacher training one-day certification coming up on March 4th, 2023. And you can also take this class online at flowliftfitness.com. And we have about 250 pre-recorded classes. We release a new one, sometimes 2 classes every week. So you'll never run out of content. And yeah, that's FlowLIFT Fitness. Anything else you want to add, Amanda?
No, just like those women said, if at first you're like, what in the world was that? Keep trying. And also what the website has that our studio doesn't really, although we do have a level 1 class every Sunday at noon, right? Yeah.
12:15, I think, but
Or 12:15. We have tons and tons of level 1 classes, and it's an amazing workout. We just call it level 1 because it's easier than the other one, but our level 1 FlowLIFT class is, very, very challenging and very, very awesome. It's just a little slower, less reps and less complicated moves, but you still get all the benefits. So
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say there is like a path, I feel like, for almost anyone to get the benefit from this workout.
And one other thing the website has that we don't have in the studio is these express classes. They're 25 minutes as opposed to the regular length classes, which are 45 minutes. So a lot of people opt to do those at home when they don't have a lot of time, and it's still a great workout. You're still going to sweat, be drenched, but it's 25 minutes instead of 45. So it's a lot more doable to practice at home. So anyway, our next podcast will be in March, and I believe we're going to be talking about women and exercise and how women tend to put everything else first. They put their kids first, their husbands first, the house first. And a lot of times they don't make the necessary like little time slots to take care of themselves, like to go to yoga, to go to work out, to do the things that kind of fill their cup. So we'll be hopefully recruiting a couple moms to talk about that and the struggles with how to get all the things that you need to be a happy mom. So stay tuned for that next month and join us in person at Buddha Yoga in La Jolla or online at flowliftfitness.com.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carolina.
Bye.
Bye.